Gamer alert! The following video contains spoilers for Act 1 of Baldurs Gate 3. Be warned. There is a saying that hell is other people. In this moment I stand alone in a hell of my own making, my melee attacks not hitting as hard as they could be, my spells weaker than they should be, my skill checks generally adequate, and my ability scores stagnating in a mire of my own self-destructive creation. This is solo jack of all trades in Baldurs Gate 3. When last we left off, I crashed an interdimensional spaceship into the middle of a war between evil goblins and selfish druids, with helpless satans trapped in the middle. I scavenged like a ravenous opossum at the edges of society, picking off the weak and alone and selling their shoes on the black market. This time I will make inroads on the area's extensive log of quests and objectives, starting with the goblin-ransacked village on the path before me. Naturally, I fail the diplomatic route and have to fight them all. Small blessings though, they can't seem to figure out how to hit me. There's several rounds of us repositioning while they take pot shots at me and I at them, but I have the high ground. Then a tense moment when one of them summons a ward right next to me on the roof of this building. That tension immediately relieved by me throwing it down 2 stories with Emperor Palpatine hands. I snipe the rest and the entrance to the village is under my control. Pressing forward, we release a gnome from a windmill,
Cut me loose!
then punch a hole in a wall and drown some ettercaps and phase spiders in delicious, delicious cheese. Seriously, they couldn't do anything. I merely sniped the phase spiders and then shot the ettercaps from across a gap while they growled and stood there. I'd feel bad, but I absolutely know I would never be able to win this fight fairly. Back at camp that night, we see Shadowheart's provocative sleepwear, and the Green Lady is predictably rude.
Speak.
Then Asterion sucks our blood and gives us -1 to all stats for the next day. Thanks.
Shit.
We meet the goodest boy in all of the realms and invite him to camp, of course. Then back to the druids to sell a bunch of crap and buy sick gloves that let me shrug off ranged attack damage as a reaction. Very monkish and very useful. Also a sick staff that increases unarmed damage and gives us +2 to all saves at the low cost of not wearing any armor. We're already not wearing any armor. Pressing forward, a jerk Satan abducts us to his house and makes fun of us for our disabilities. Then we pick off a pack of gnolls thanks to creative use of game mechanics and this bridge. They can't do too much. And then we meet an even cooler Satan who encourages us to commit random acts of violence. Deal. These guys aren't actually paladins anyways.
Then you'd be very stupid indeed.
But first, I buy all of their healing potions and other helpful tidbits. I'm gonna need them. Oh boy, am I gonna need them. The ensuing shit show of a combat takes nearly an hour. These guys are a legitimate adventuring party with a mage and a warrior and a rogue. I, on the other hand, live a constant dichotomy between slasher villain and slasher victim, chasing them around the house, and then being chased through the woods myself, wounded and out of breath. Through judicial potion chugging and a gentle staff tap against the soft spot of this halfling's weak skull, I stand victorious and can move on. Celebrating, I take some of my companions to town to advance their personal quests. Thankfully, no fight breaks out, and I can just let them talk to the random NPCs without concern of having to restart. Emboldened, for some reason, by the costly and scant victory from earlier, I decide that the time is right to tackle the other bandits in the area. Those jerks in the decrepit church who pounded on me so much in the last video. We sneak in through the front door and blast them with an AoE damage arrow. They all make their save and answer by beating me until I die. This mostly naked man is the biggest issue, going into a rage and absolutely wailing on me as soon as he's able to get anywhere close to me. Second attempt. We're spotted from even further away somehow, and not even a tactical retreat is enough to keep me from getting chunked down to half health by the end of the first turn. They're lined up like a firing squad behind the door, and I have to tap out. Fourth attempt. We throw down a pool of grease so intense it somehow blows the door closed and lights the whole room behind them on fire. The melee doesn't want to go open it, and the range decide to just shoot it for some reason, ineffectively. This is a good start. We make a mage hand and it slaps the door to intimidate our enemies. I get bored and begin looting the room, waiting for the NPCs to figure out how to deal with the door. Our poor mage hand is attack of opportunity through the closed door somehow as he tries to leave, and they figure out how to open the door. I coat my spear in drow poison, use my missile snare reaction, and die as soon as they sight me from the doorway. 6th attempt. I start a fire in the doorway and summon a mage hand too far away to pull the lever and close the door on them. Big oops. One of the archers moves way out of position, and I just kill them. Then I try to use offensive spells on the barbarian, despite my casting ability being just shit, and nearly die when the whole squad comes to get me. I leave and take a short rest outside, then jump down the side passageway to get the jump on them. My absolute galaxy brain Chad strategy of piling crap in front of the door works, and I land a very important critical hit with an arrow of darkness to shut down the archer and mage. They can't figure out how to get inside, while I scam them by moving in and out of line of sight, taking pot shots from stealth. This idiot walks up to the crate candelabra barricade and doesn't bat an eye, right up until an arrow coated in drow poison hamstrings him and starts to fight proper. The poison doesn't work, because it never works, but he's still not in a good spot. The only ones that can hit me now are the archers, and I get to just no-sell one of their attacks every turn with my gloves. I blow up a crate of explosives and set them all ablaze, thankfully not burning down my own barricade. That probably would have been a guaranteed death. It is hard to overstate how good these gloves are. All that's left now is to mop up the stragglers, which gets extra annoying as the barbarian's AI breaks and he decides to stand in the corner, dashing in place. I don't want to go to him, and he obviously doesn't want to come to me. So I sacrifice a mage hand to draw him into firing range. Using a cantrip to make the barricade light up simply infuriates him somehow, and he scares the hell out of me by jumping into the room, something he was apparently fully capable of doing this entire time. The gods are literally with me, and my reactionary attack hits, cleric powers, him for a massive 16 damage. I clean him up with my staff and proceed with looting. Absolutely 100%. If I hadn't killed him that turn, there is a good chance I was just gonna die. Wiping out 2/3 of his health with that reaction absolutely saved my crispy bacon. Moving back to camp for the night, some haughty Ojo-san demon lady shows up and rules Lawyer's Will out of the game.
You told me! Devils only! She's a tiefling, not a monster!
Clause G, Section 9. Target shall be limited to the infernal, the demonic, the heartless, and the soulless. Karlak meets the criteria by virtue of having no heart.
Giving him scars and painful-looking devil horns. Sucks to be him. And me, later, when I take a level of Warlock, I guess. Gale starts hungering for magic items. It sucks. I genuinely hate that, and realize I should have just left his ass stuck in the wall. There's one thing I, and many DMs, have learned over the years. If you want to make your party upset or pissed off, just take away their stuff. Now Gale acts like that coked-out roommate selling your stuff to get high. I'm not even using these companions. Giving this guy my stuff for him to smoke is weak sauce. He won't even explain what he's doing unless I extort it out of him.
Let's agree on actions first, and explanations later. Yes?
Companion angst and frustration's over. It's time to make the big push into Goblinville. The front gates prove tough the first time around. It makes things considerably easier later to realize that the wolves can't get on top of those rocks, and the goblins are just terrible shots with their ranged weapons compared to me. Gloves of missile snaring once again prove clutch. Easy. These goblins are dicks, but they have a lot of good stuff for trade. Potions, boots that give temporary HP when I heal, which I might or might not use eventually, and some camp supplies in exchange for all the random garbage I was hauling around since the last time I visited an NPC. Nice. As I approach the fast travel point, I see some random goblin with a crowd around it. He begins to talk smack. A lot of it. Seriously? Am I gonna kiss this guy's feet? No. I beat him up, and his friends, instead. I barely take any damage, too. It's pathetic.
I yield! I yield!
There's a lot happening in the Inner Sanctum, so I'll try to break it down simply. I mind power my way past the annoying guards at the entrance to trade with the mercenary vendors. They've got a lot of cool stuff. Most notably a staff that does a lot more damage than my current one, and gives me fire damage and a fire cantrip, which is great. It means that I can start lighting explosive barrels from across the room. I trade lots of random junk for it, and some arrows with knockback, because that is overpowered. I lockpick doors and snoop around, trying to figure out the best way to take this place down by myself. I get a little freaky with this devotee of a pain religion trying to look awesome.
The pain you suffer will cleanse you. Do not fight it.
But I'm literally too cool and tough for his weird KTV BSM show.
Your reaction was lacking.
Whatever. I take out my angst on the other torturers and rescue this random guy. I think that might be it for this episode. Next time, we'll try to bust out Halcyon and kill the goblin leaders. How bad could that be?